One, two, one, two. Everybody should be able to hear and see. If you guys can hear and see, let me know by comments in the chat. If you guys can hear and see, we got 57 people on. So we're going to go ahead and get started. What's going on, great people? We on the tube, on the YouTube, doing some different things. But yep, testing out, working out. I just got this working a couple things out. So just trying to get better at using all this technology and all this stuff. So always learning something new about this technology. But man, I'm excited. Hopefully everybody's excited as well. Here to talk with you guys tonight. Market leverage, cash strategy, and political setups. All right, that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. So drop some fires in the chat for those that this is your first time here, your first opportunity listening. Super excited and appreciative of you being here. And like this video up, share this with a friend. My name is Lawrence Eggleston. I've been a full-time trader and investor pretty much since really 2018 now. I first started in this space back in 2016. So that's when I first got my start in this space. 2016 was just a kid in high school with, aspirations of being able to be financially free and be able to, take care of my family. And just, I had an interest in assets, right? I looked at it and said, man, like the stock stuff really intrigued me, right? And so the stock stuff was super intriguing. And that's what got me really involved in the space. And so I just continued to want to grow, more and more, wanted to, I think back to just some of my first investments and, Shopify to Nike to Tesla, just when I was getting my start, and it just seems like yesterday, but there's so much experience that you learn. I see RJ Pace is in the building. And y'all give it up to RJ Pace. If you guys are not following RJ Trades, now that I'm figuring out this YouTube thing, me and RJ, we're gonna have to do we got to do a dual something here on we got to do it here on YouTube, right? So taking this thing to YouTube, I've been on IG Live, I mean, countless of times, but IG Live, man, people can't see the screen, man. They like, yo, L, you talking that stuff, but we can't see the screen. So, IG Live is cool. I love getting on IG Live. I'll still be on IG Live a little bit, but man, this is going to be the place to really find me here. Shout out to all the BWSO community members. I'm looking to add a couple zeros behind this thing, but yeah, man, we're taking this thing next level. Just to start. You guys are going to see a series of videos get published and on here on YouTube. So this is just where we're going to continue to grow this thing out, and we're going to build this thing. We're going to continue to prop this thing up, and YouTube is the way to grow, right? Not just the way to go, but it's the way to grow, right? And we want to grow this thing, and then we also want everything to be documented, right? Because there's a lot of times I'm talking about things on IG Live, and it could get lost, right? IG Live, it slides down. You miss it. I post a few reels and all of that. Next thing you know, the live is gone. Here, you can find it underneath the playlist, the BWSO video playlist. Each live will be shared right underneath the BWSO video playlist. So we're going to make sure that things are categorized and boom, in the right spots that they're supposed to be. So you exactly know what's going on in real time, right? So we've done an amazing job. We're pretty much here at this 6 month point of this year, right? Pretty much 6 months into the year. And, it's been, first 2 to 3 months, maybe didn't start off. Q1 maybe didn't start off the way that you thought the year was going to start off. I think a lot of us in Q1, it was like, man, this year is starting off a little bit crazy, right? We was like, DT is a bit crazy. This man's a madman, right? Tariff guy, Liberation Day, and all of that good stuff. We didn't feel good about it, right? There was a lot of people that walked away from that and didn't feel good about it. And I think most people didn't feel good. But now hindsight is 2020, they say. We take a look back and man, you talk about an opportunity. You talk about teeing this thing up. I felt like, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. This second quarter, I don't know about you guys, but the second quarter of the year, I ain't gonna lie, I was feeling pretty hot. This Q2 we've been on fire. If you feel that way about quarter two, man, I gotta say, Q1, I was saying it. I was like, hey, we was on the Zooms, and I said, yo, we was down about 12 after the first quarter. We got punched in our mouths in the first quarter. It was about 37 to 25. We had 25. But I said, yo, we came back. We went into halftime up about 10. So we felt like going into halftime, we're up about 10 points. I said the score was 70 to 60, right? Going into halftime, right? To where we got 70 and the market got about 60. Now we got a 10-point lead. We're about to go into the third quarter, where third quarter is going to kick us off here on J1st, July 1st, which is Tuesday, right? Tuesday, July 1st. And we're here in the first quarter. We're here in the first quarter, right? And we just got punched in the mouth. Wasn't feeling really good. Second quarter, we came out. It just felt like boom. We just knocking down those threes. Boom, right? We done knocked down Robinhood, SOXL, all my people. You get what I'm saying? SOXL. Who's feeling good about SOXL? SOXL. We printed a 200% return on the SOXL, right? We printed a 200% return on SOXL. Crazy, right? 200% return on SOXL. Boom. Right? Then we talk about AVGX for AVGO. METU went crazy. Woo. Just feeling good. Right? We had, just countless of positions just took off. Let's talk about Roblox, RBLX. How many Roblox people we got in the crib? RBLX was top on our list. $50 company back to 100. AMDL. You got AMDL. Who was on the Zooms and the lives at $3, $4, right? I was saying AMDL. Who said it when AMD? We called AMD to the downside and we called AMD back up, did we not? When AMD last July or August and it was at 170, who talked about it? I see some people say UNH to the downside. Who remembers that? We talking about Q2, man. Q2 was on fire. On fire. But guess what, though? I want everyone to drop that UNH drop, man. That paid people's mortgages. You right. UNH drop, that paid some people's mortgages. People was making 5, 10, 15,000 overnight. We call UNH drop to the T. We just published some things about UNH today. But I want everyone to put the question mark in the chat. What's the question? What's the question mark for? You want to know what? Put that question mark in the chat. I want everyone to put the question mark in the chat. Shift and put that question mark. Put it in there. Put it in there. Put it in there. Drop that question mark and share this live with some people tonight. The question mark is, we ain't really done nothing though. So yeah, we can be hype. We can feel good about quarter two, all of that good stuff. But I ain't here to really rain on nobody's parade. But it's just to say, man, we ain't really done nothing. It's just to say, let's stay focused and let's get locked in a bit more. That's what the question mark is. Right. So guess what? If you feel like you're on top of the world right now, you should probably cool off for a second. Reality is going to set in for you here right now. There's still a ton of work to do. And so, yeah, we feel good. We appreciate these positions, but job's not finished. Why? Because it's halftime. The game isn't over yet. This year is not finished. And so for some people that are listening here are saying, hey, what should we be paying attention to next? What moves should we be getting ready to do? Because what I don't want to happen is that we go into quarter three with the mentality that we had in Q2, right? Of just, okay, we're hitting. You got to earn it each quarter, right? This is a 4-quarter game, right? Each year you get 4 quarters. So yes, your first quarter didn't start off the best. Your second quarter came in, you blowing them out. But now third quarter, this is very decisive because this is going to lead directly into the fourth quarter. And that's what I brought everybody here on this live to do tonight, is to be able to illustrate and dissect of what I want people to do going in, right? Going into this next quarter. Someone said UNH put my homie in a different tax bracket. Respectfully, it did for a lot of people, right? But now Let's focus on this third quarter. I want everyone to put in the chat 3Q. I want you to put in the chat 3Q. Everyone drop in the chat 3Q, right? 3Q. 3Q. So Dennis talking about them Falcons. Oh man. He said that 28 3-point swing. Oh man, 3Q. Everyone dropped that in the chat. That's what Dennis said. He said it. I ain't say it. Sorry. Sorry, Cleve. Everyone drop in after we put in 3Q. Everyone drop in Cleve. Cleve. It's been one of our outstanding students here. Cleve. Everyone put Cleve in the chat. I'm picking on Cleve a little bit tonight. He's a Falcons fan. So when Dennis made that 28-3 reference, I felt a little bad for him. But let me tell you, Cleve may be a Falcons fan, but right, he is someone that definitely, I don't know what happened, because Cleve does not have the Falcons DNA in him, right? Because Cleve, this brother, we're gonna give him his flowers here tonight, and all of the BWSO members. Cleve has reached a level where he's sending me plays, right? He's sending me, yo, LE, check this out, right? LE, check this out. Everyone put in AXP, right? Because of course I'm watching AXP and things like that, but you always need a second lift. I'm giving Cleve his flowers on AXP because Cleve was the one that said, yo, Ellie, make sure you pull this up. I was looking at some other tickers. I seen the analysis, right? But Cleve said, yo, Ellie, go take a look at AXP real quick. What's your thoughts? And I said, man, Cleve, this is golden. Right here, boom, 302, 303. Boom. By Friday was at 320. So y'all give a special shout out to Cleve. He put some money in your pockets last week. He put some money in mine as well, too. That's the goal of this community, is so that you learn this information yourself. Cleve's been in here since last October. He's not even been in here a year yet. But that's what we talk about when we talk about dedication and discipline. That's what it is. So we're going to give people their flowers. That's one thing I'm big on. I don't never want it to be that somebody ain't get their flowers. So let me go ahead and start to share my screen with you guys. Let's see here. Share screen, entire screen. Boom. All right. So you guys should see my screen here now. And boom, here we go. We should be on. Everybody should see my CNBC. I got my chat here on this iPad, so I'll see the chat here. So everyone should be able to see. All right. So let's go into what we see now. We got an S&P 500 futures up about 14 points, the NASDAQ 66, and the Dow futures up 202. First thing I want to discuss when we talk about market leverage. So going into quarter three, I want to pull this directly from Investopedia, right? And so if you made money from SOXL, money from these risky investments, right? SOXL, things like that, TQQQs, right? I want to explain a couple of things here. And I want people to hear me very, very, very carefully. You see your TQQQ up here at $82, right? You see your SOXL here at $25. What I want to speak to is the risk that you take when you are getting into these triple leverage ETFs. These triple leverage ETFs are really good trading instruments. I want to speak to that. These 3x levered ETFs are really good trading instruments. These things should not be used, right? I want to stress this. As you just saying, I'm going to continue to hold, I'm going to continue to hold. These are tools that you want to get 100%, 200%, right type returns. These are the tools on how you want to get these resources, right? So I want to stress this to you guys. I really want to stress this. Do not make the big mistakes of just continuing to come into these positions and just holding on to these positions tight. That's not what these positions are for, right? These positions are for you to move out of when these stocks start to get to all-time highs. So let's go over here to ETF.com, right? So the TQQQ holdings, ETF.com is the one resource that we always tell people to go to who are newer, right? So look at the resources that you're actually using here for these holdings, right? Now, a lot of what makes up is the same top holdings that are particularly in the NASDAQ. What you'll notice though is that also as well, you'll see United States Treasury bill, and you also see that 21% of this is actually held in cash, right, in the US dollar. So 21%, right, is held in the US dollar. So to me, what's super, super, super duper important is that we understand that these are short-term trading instruments. If you notice, you'll see here on the TQQQ and the SOXL, what I want to show you is SOXL is not even back to its all-time high, right? And this is back here in July, right? You notice it's not even up here to its high point, right? It's still here at $25. What I want to show you is the metrics wise. Let's show you some of the top stocks that are within this SOXL. You have names like NVIDIA. Ask yourself the question: is SOXL back to an all-time high? No. Is NVIDIA at an all-time high? Yes. Right. So these things are designed to have a large amount of decay, right? That is what I want to stress. These instruments and these tools are designed to have a large amount of decay. So in Q2, right, we banked on NVDLs. We banked on, which is 2x, right? So you have your 3x levered, which means you make three times the money to the upside. But what happens if the market pulls back in quarter three, which could happen, right? Which is possible. What is going to happen is you are going to see people get devastated. This is not the time to be buying leverage products. There's not many necessarily discounts at these levels, right? So it's important to understand this rationale. There's not a ton of discounts here. So no one should be thirsty about getting into positions. I want to stress that here. No one should be extremely thirsty about getting into positions, right? It just should not happen, right? You should be thirsty about getting into positions here. So here on these 3x lever side, it is very, 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 very important to make sure that you are not getting caught up in these names. It is time to make sure that you are taking profit, whether that be an NVDL, right? Which is your, and NVDL is here all the way from $23 in April, 23, $25 to $70. This is the time to start selling, right? So when we talk about market leverage, this is what I'm highlighting here for us tonight, is to make sure that we are raising cash on these leverage products. So if you have a METU, a AVGX, I see someone just talking about Coinbase's one, right? Cono, ticker CONL, right? You want to make sure that you are taking your profits. Make sure you guys are taking your profits. I want to stress that. Do not be sitting here and not taking your profits. There's always the thought that people have and say, hey, what if this thing goes up more, right? What if this thing runs up further to the upside, right? What if this thing continues to climb, right? And people just, like I said, people say, hey, well, I want to stay into this position. Do not fall victim, right? Do not fall victim here, right? That's one thing I do want to stress with you guys. Do not fall victim. Next thing that I want to go over, right? When we take a look here, I want to go to some of the other ones like the TQQQ, right here from a technical perspective. You remember when the TQQQ dropped here in February? It dropped all the way down here, it was down like 60%. So you want to buy, right, things like the TQQQ, you want to buy these instruments at extreme lows. Extreme lows. You don't buy these things high. What are some of the risks, right? Compounding can cause large losses for 3x ETFs during volatile markets, such as occurred with several funds in the 20 and in the markets during the 2020s. right? This decade. Since they maintain a fixed level of leverage, 3x ETFs eventually face complete collapse if the underlying index, or the stock in this case, declines more than 33% on a day, because their higher leverage creates a risk of enormous single day losses. It is not necessarily recommended to hold leverage ETFs overnight. So the thing is like, it's about where you buy these things at. And I know that these things are very sexy tools and very attractive things, right? So the part about not holding overnight in this case to me is untrue, right? Because you do have to keep in mind of what companies we're buying these leverage ETFs. We're not buying leverage ETFs on, I would say there's no company that we're probably bought a leverage ETF on that's going to fall 33% in a day right now, unless something just drastically changed. So to me, you would not be wanting to buy leverage ETFs on, booty companies, right? Companies that are trash, right? When we say companies that are trash, we're talking about names that are not profitable, names that are highly speculative. And that's what you see, like primarily the names that we're talking about proven names, right? We're talking about names like Nvidia that, are more profitable than half, over half the companies in the stock market, just all together, right? This is one of the most profitable businesses that we see right out there, right? So there, you want to make sure that when you are purchasing these things, you want to buy them only at extreme lows, right? So you're not going to see me talk about buying a SOXL here in the $20 range. Why? Because it has to go from $20 to $40, but it would take a lot to actually do that, right? So leverage products, guys, in quarter 3, if the market is at an all-time high, and someone is telling you to buy a leverage product, they got to be smoking something they shouldn't have touched, because you are absolutely crazy if you think buying a leverage product when the market is at an all-time high and certain stocks are hitting 52-week highs. That is absurd. You better leave wherever you heard that from. No one should buy. So I want to hear this plain as day. In quarter 3, the only way we should be even thinking about a leverage product is if the NASDAQ falls 10 to 20%. That's the only way we're even thinking about a leverage product as far as purchasing. If you want to scale out, and sell some and keep what other things that you have, right? I'm not saying you got to sell everything leverage wise, but you best be taking profits here, because man, when the market comes down, the pain can be excruciating. So everyone looks at the green side. Oh man, when the market's going up, I'm making 2x. But you don't think about the other side. So it is very important when we talk about market leverage. You want to make sure you are scaling out of those risky 2x and 3x levered ETFs. Please take your profits. Some people are going to ask, does this mean I should be selling my shares, right? Common stock, no leverage shares. The answer to that, in my opinion, would be no, right? If you have 100 shares, you can implement some covered call strategies, right? Because I still do think we do have some more upside, but it's about making sure you're protecting your risk. That's one of the main things that I want you to do, is protecting yourself. I don't want you out here putting yourself in a position and overnight this NASDAQ falls 3%. And then next thing you know, it's down 7, 8% on a week. And then you're looking at your leverage products and you got cooked, right? I want to stress that. I really want to stress that leverage ETF wise. So if you're a new person and saying, hey, I need to make sure I understand how those ETFs work and what their holdings are, make sure you are using ETF.com to be able to analyze those holdings, right? So we're going to move on here next. I want to talk, we're going to go solo screen, solo, solo, solo. Let's pull up this SPY. And let's see. Here we go. All right, perfect. So let's talk about the SPY here now. We've had a V-shaped recovery, right? Keyword V, right? So the V has been completed. So now we are officially at a V-shaped recovery point. here on the SPY. The main question that a lot of people have is, okay, well, the SPY, we had a 9 and a 21 EMA cross here back on May 27th. So now we're in it, we're more still within an ascension. Of course, we had to cross to the downside, the first 9 and the 21 here on the weekly. We're looking on the weekly time frame. First cross occurred for the first time since 2023. Look at that. Look how long it took. Right? Look how beautifully we were traded. So we're still here within the uptrend. All signs point to us continuing to push higher. We are now expecting, okay, when we go into, let's pull up this QQQ and let's pull up this SPY, right? The names like Nvidia, how much gas do they have left in the tank? Right? We've seen a strong push last week, which was solid. Nvidia is still pushing higher, making new highs, right? So the semiconductor space, which led us up there in the first place, Nvidia is still making a new high. You look at this identical, right? V-shaped recovery, right? So we're expecting still more breakouts. We're expecting the SPY to continue to push upward. The next thing you know, the SPY will be in the 620s before we know it, right? So last week was a solid week for us to see momentum wise, right? The market had that. We've been waiting for the market to actually gain that momentum, right? And that's exactly what we saw. We also have ticker MSFT, Microsoft knocking on the door, knock, knock, 500, right? 500. Microsoft is here. So we do see here allocation wise, but then there's something that makes us say, man, there's one name on this list. And we're looking here at ETF.com and we're scratching our head a bit and saying, really? Apple? Apple has not partaken in this run. Could we believe it? Apple has not partaken in this run. Let's pull up Apple. While Nvidia and Microsoft have both been on this race to $4 trillion in market cap, Apple's still sitting here, right? So Apple is stuck. I mean, Apple at one point we were thinking, I mean, Apple when it got here to 260 in the back half of the 2024, we're like, man, Apple's gonna hit 4 trillion and maybe sustain it. But then Apple fell from grace like the other companies. But Apple here right now, buyers and sellers are a bit confused. Since April, the rest of the market has rallied, and Apple's just still been below this 215, right? So everyone should have this 215 level marked off, right? And yes, we are live, Scorpion underscore yen. This is live. And Apple's, it's sleep. It's, it's knocked out right now. Here at 201, and we're like, what is going on with Apple? Now we know the rest of the market had its rally, but Apple literally, this is what we talk about. Apple's become, and I don't like using this word, but right now it's showing us that people are not happy with the way, right? There's nothing to really be excited about, right? There's nothing to be excited about, right? Is that iPhone sales aren't growing at the same rate they used to. So there's been nothing that's been very attractive wise for Apple. What's the buy-in? What's the reason I'm buying Apple? Right? Of course, I don't think anybody said we're just going to offload, right? But looking here at Apple, it hasn't performed the way it's usually has when the market has. So I mean, here it's just been kind of consolidating. If we break below 192, right, that would be where we could get aggressive on the short side and a break back above 215. But other than that, Apple's doing nothing. Nothing here right now. No real strong technical setup to make you believe that anything's gonna happen here. So I guess one of the main questions going into Q3 is, I mean, where does Apple go from here? We're going to be very intrigued because I think the slightest bit of weakness in this market, you'll see Apple break that 192. We thought the slightest bit of strength, maybe we could get a bust through 215. That ain't even happened. So Apple is definitely stalled out. And it does, like I said, it does not have that same strength, right, that it once did. Now I want to run through some of these tickers, and I want to talk about specifically one ETF that I always highlight. And honestly, this ETF, if you've been invested in either this ETF or the tickers within this ETF in Q2, you made a bag. But just like always, we like to give, right? We like to give objective information, right? Objective, right? We want to make sure you're good and you're getting the right information. So these holdings here, right? Tesla, Coinbase. I mean, Coinbase just went on a generational type run here, right? For themselves. They went on a generational run the past week alone, right? So let's take a look at ticker coin, right? And you take a look at coin is here at 353. So looking here, right? Tesla 9%, Coinbase 9%, Roku 7%, which I don't understand why Roku should be like definitely out of the top 10, but nonetheless, different conversation for a different day. Roblox 6.9, Tempest AI 5, CRISPR Therapeutics 4.9, Robinhood should be higher, should probably be number 3 or 4, right? Robinhood 4.87%. Palantir should probably be in the top 5, but not probably, definitely should be. I don't understand how Circle is higher than Palantir, but okay, nonetheless. There's a few things I don't like with the ETF as far as allocation wise, but all of the companies that are here at least have a level outside of Roku, right? Have a level of serious catapulting type growth. I think Archer Aviation, you see that there at the bottom, Class A shares as well, has some nice potential for growth. And Circle Internet Group, I mean, it's taken came into the market very fast and taking the world by storm. Circle Internet Group as well as CoreWeave are both stocks that I like, but I wouldn't be touching them now. And we'll touch on we'll touch on this cash strategy next. Right. So I want everyone to drop those money bags in the chat. Drop those money bags in the chat and go ahead and do that for me real quick. Put the money bags in the chat. Money bags in the chat. Drop those money bags, great people. We ain't come to play around tonight. So, cash, when we talk about raising cash, right? We talked about some of your higher risk plays, right? Like your leverage products. It's always it's always something that brings the market back to reality. And specifically, we kind of highlighted this for all my members on the weekly watch list. I can't give you all of the gems here just on YouTube Live, right? That wouldn't be fair to people who are locked in and into the program. But one thing that we discussed, and you guys will be able to understand this, is that these names that have ran, right? Your Robinhoods, your Robloxes, your Coinbases, these are good. It's good. It feels good, right? But it doesn't feel good when these names actually start to take a decline. It's just a reality. When these names start to decline, it does not feel good, right? When these names start to take a hit, trust me, I can tell, right? I can tell when these names start to take a hit. Now, what I want to stress to you is we're going to speak about what happens when the next pullback comes in. A 2 to 5% drop is considered to be a pullback. What happens when we also get that next correction? Not saying that happens in quarter 3, but it's always good to be prepared. The question is, the question I want to point to people is if the market fell 10% this week, would you have any cash to be able to buy? This is how I want to prep people because I'm gonna play on a psychological piece today, right? When everyone is focusing on being at the market at the top, right? This is where now more people get googly eyed, right? Because people say, "Oh man, people, everybody's making money." When everyone feels as if they're making money, more times than not, I've been in this industry almost a decade. That's usually the time to press the sell buttons. And not to say that every sector, every area starts to decline, but I think we'd be foolish to think if Robinhood didn't bring its butt from $30 to $80, that somebody ain't gonna take profit. Or Coinbase goes from 150 to 350 and somebody ain't gonna take profit. Not that we ain't trashing these businesses because we got a level of respect for them, right? But This is the piece of even Roblox. By any means necessary, Roblox has not printed a, realistically, you go to this weekly time frame, the last red candle on this weekly time frame was May 5th. Now, one thing to know, you guys know I'm a fundamental person. I'm a fundamental guy. For those that have been in, I'm fundamental, technical, pretty much all around, right? We like to use everything. We use everything and we rule out nothing. We like to keep an open perspective with this thing. Now with Roblox, yes, I can get googly eyed and say, oh man, it's just such a beautiful chart. But once again, I've been around this rodeo a few times, right? And you guys know, always take a look at the market and say, things seem a bit too easy, right? It's like I felt like in quarter two, the defense was just, pretty much non-existent. Right. I felt like, man, we just working up and down the field. I'm gonna take the football real quick. It's like the corners were sagging off, playing back, and we was just able to be methodical and get whatever we wanted. We took whatever we wanted in Q2 because the defense allowed that. The defense is the market. The market gave us opportunities to kind of take what we wanted. But what happens when the market faces a little bit of resistance and it's just not, we're not just able to go in and just take, where we got to really earn, right? Because I'll say this, like in Q2, I felt like a lot of things were given, which were cool. But now Q3, we're gonna have to earn it, right? I want everyone to put that word, earn, right? EARN. I want you to put that earn, right? We all gotta earn it here. We all gotta earn it, right? We all gotta earn it, guys. So I want to stress this, right? We all gotta earn this thing. So if you guys are digging what I'm saying, drop some comments in the chat. You got to earn it. You got to earn the right to take money out of this thing. There's no gimmies, there's no freebies, right? And I feel like we've gotten that. So we got to earn it. We got to take it out this market. So you got to earn it. So I want you guys, I know I have a ton of one-on-one calls with clients this week, right? My calendar is absolutely filled, which I'm excited about. But you got to make sure that you're taking your money off the table, guys. You got to make sure you're taking your money off the table, right? So, especially in these, the question I have for you is, did you actually have any cash? That was the main question that I had was, did you actually have any cash available? Right? That was my main question was, did you actually have any cash available? If the answer to that question is no, you need to do some reconsidering this week, right? Because quarter three is going to start. We know that quarter three ends when? I want everyone to put in September. Put September into the chat. So as we creep closer to September, right? What usually happens in late August to September? And we just going through historical context perspective, right? Usually September is a red month. That's usually a red month. Not to say it's a guarantee, but usually it's a red month, especially on the back half of these huge runs, right? So, what do we have lined up for us? Let's pull up. One great resource to use is earningswhisper.com. And I also want to pull up my economic calendar, right, via Market Watch. So, these are our two main resources that we use. We got right here we got our economic calendar. It's getting ready to come out, right? We have here on Wednesday. Yeah, we're going to see on July 17th. We're going to hear from Netflix. We're going to have the banks reporting here soon. ASML, Goldman Sachs, July 16th. So we're about 2 weeks away from getting right these next earnings reports that are going to come through, right? And I think it is super duper important that we consider this timeline. These companies are coming in like Netflix. Netflix ain't shy. Netflix been over here printing money. They ain't been playing around. Netflix has been doing its thing. This deal with WWE, as I mean, look at this chart. Whew. Netflix has went from $826 to $1,300, and they said, "What split you want us to do?" Because we ain't doing those. Look at this chart. You talk about V, man. They took this thing and blew past V. went through. They're literally almost up another 100% from that 740, well, excuse me, $700 all-time high. Look at this stock back in 2022. You remember Disney Plus? I want to go through the narratives, right? This platform right here, listen, I know we got the futures data from them, but they sell you smoke. They sell you smoke. These platforms, right, when they're on the television screen talking about stuff, they sell you smoke. This is the same, these platforms is the same one, right, that literally said Netflix was going to look to Disney Plus. This is what they said. They said Netflix was going to be losing to Disney Plus. Disney Plus was coming in and disrupting things. Last time I checked, we look at this chart. Netflix said disrupting what? We own this space. Disney Plus, you doing what you're doing, but man, Netflix is smoking them right now. Smoking them. And so, one thing about going into quarter three is that all of these companies are coming in pretty hot. So, earnings need to be blowout. Earnings need to be blowout, guys. I want everyone to put that in the chat. Blowout. That's what earnings need to be. Is blowout. We need to see a blowout earnings, right? We need to see blowout earnings. That's exactly what we need to see, blowout. Because if we don't see blowout earnings, these stocks will pull back. Why? Because if things are trading at a premium, use that word, premium. I want you to take these notes. Premium, right? Put that word. If we're trading at a premium, and you come out with subpar results, what's going to happen to your stock? Your stock is going to slip. And so the level of expectation gets raised when all of these equities are doing well. So it is super duper important that these names come out and actually have some really good reports, right? So very, very, very important. So we're going to hear from, like I said, a lot of these different names. Make sure you guys are staying on top of your calendar, right? Your earnings calendar, right? To stay up to date, right? So you can come here to, like, a lot of them will start on the 15th and the 16th, right? So you'll see, you got your names that are coming out. So you make sure you tap into this earnings calendar here and to stay abreast to all of that information. Now, this week, what do we have? We have the ADP employment report, which comes out here at 8:15 a.m. on Wednesday, July 2nd. We'll kick things off on July 1st with job openings and ISM, right? Manufacturing report at 10 a.m. After that, you got 8:30 unemployment rate. You got also hourly wages year over year and the U.S. trade deficit. This is what you actually have here, right? So this employment, as well as you have U.S. unemployment rate, which is expected to be at 4.3%. So the Fed has its work cut out for themselves, right? Because their job is to promote economic stability. And the job market is one of the main, we've seen a lot of cutting in the job markets, right? This past year, right? We've seen a lot of cuts. A lot of people lost their job. A lot of people had to hit the unemployment line, and it's been pretty rough and tight. So what data the Fed is looking at is a lagging data, lagging indicator. My thing with quarter three and quarter four, when we as we finish quarter three, I'll obviously do a quarter four prediction. But we want to watch if unemployment goes over 5%. That's historically never been good. So the unemployment rate, U.S. unemployment rate being over 5%, we want to watch that. You take that note down. We break over 5%, then we will be in trouble if we break over 5%. So to me, we want to be, caution. I go into quarter three with a side of caution. What does that mean? Defense. Defense. If you ever been to what? You ever been to them games? Defense. 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 I want you to put that word in there. Defense. Defense. You got to go on the defensive side of the ball right now. So we've been pretty offensive, pretty loose with the basketball. We shouldn't have been loose with the football at certain times, and we've scored a few touchdowns. We pretty much went up and down the field. Feel good. We went up in halftime up 14. What we don't want to do, because guess what? What's going to happen is that the market is about to get the ball back at half. So what we don't want to happen is that we just allow the market to come and put a touchdown on us right out of half. What does that look like? That means you ain't trading with a stop loss. You just doing whatever the hell you want to do. You're not taking profits on your 2x levered ETFs and your 3x levered ETFs, and you just out here feeling frisky and just doing whatever you want to do, right? That's not the recipe in this market. Get on the defensive side of the ball. The question and the main question that I asked was, okay, what actual, right? Let's really cover this. How much cash do you have on the side? That's the question you need to be asking yourself. Because if the answer to that question is none and all your money's vested, you need to be taking some money off these 2x levered and 3x levered ETFs. Also, what you need to be doing is you need to be tapping in with me these next 2 weeks. So to kick things off, I'm kind of focusing a little bit less on teaching right now. I probably taught a ton, and people probably have a ton of recordings to catch up on, which is perfectly fine. This past week, man, I'll tell you guys, and the people will tell you, if you showed up to Atlanta this past week and you had a great time here in the A, we had I mean, you talk about, we put this event on we put the last time it was in March. We did it again, right? This past June. The next one to be in October. I mean, listen, we're making sure people have a great experience and a lot of good times, right? So if you're here on this live right now, you tapped into that event. I mean, we gave a lot of information and actionable steps and things. So to me, you have to, like I said, you got to really keep a level head and you got to be thinking defensive, right? I really want to stress this. Really, I want you guys to really think defensive at this time. Double down on your homework. I also think this is a good time where, we'll also start to maybe see, we could still see some nice movement upside, but around by the time we actually go ahead and we make it right to that August and September point, what happens when the market really goes into overbought territory? Seriously, right? So definitely want to stress raise cash. Now let's also talk about the political setup. So, there's thoughts about and conversations about, hey, deals getting done. Of course, there was a little rockiness, uh, obviously, as well, to what we saw in the Middle East during the back half of this quarter, too, right? Over the past couple of weeks, to be honest, with Israel, of course, Iran, that situation is kind of temper tantrum. The temper tantrum kind of came down. I see some people said I'm there in October. Yeah, we're gonna run this back October 19th to the 22nd, right? October 19th to the 22nd, we're gonna run this thing back. So definitely be excited to have some more people in the house for sure. So yeah, that's my main case in point. The political setups. We want to be watching, of course, Jerome Powell and company right here at the Federal Reserve. Our next Federal Reserve meeting is getting ready to go ahead and happen here. So you take a look at the Fed FOMC calendar, right? So July 29th and the 30th. So we're going to have two interest rate decisions here in Q3 and then two in Q4. July 29th and 30th and September 16th and 17th. Make sure you go ahead and take that down, right? July 29th and 30th, September 16th and 17th. Those will be your two Federal Reserve interest rate meetings. So the political games, I still think, DT will be DT. But the thing about DT is a lot of times people get distracted by his foolishness. We just look to make money from it. That's just our philosophy and our perspective here in the community is, hey, this guy's gonna run his mouth, but guess what? We still got to do our job and do our part. So he can run his mouth all day. We got to put ourselves in position to capitalize and make this money, right? That's what we got to do. We got to control what we can control, right? It is super, 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 super duper important. right? And um, I, looking here, I think it is very, 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 very important to understand from my perspective, right, that this political stuff is noise, smoke and mirrors. DT said a lot of stuff and then did the opposite. So like there's always going to be an excuse to sell. Right around September, they're going to start talking about the debt ceiling again. Hey, the debt ceiling, the debt ceiling. People are going to say, what is this going to mean for the market? The markets are a little bit jittery, right? So there's always going to be some form of reason to sell. But then all of a sudden, a couple months later, you see the S&P 500 making a new high, right? Look at this right here. Latest news an hour ago. I just want to give this example, right? S&P hits a high, but as Trump gives, so can he take. Look at the way on how they try to sell these things, right? Look at the way on how they try to sell these things. They're also going to talk about, the tariffs and this 90-day pause. Is he going to lift it? Is he excuse me, is he going to extend it? All of that stuff. Of course he's going to extend it, right? He may have a little jittery notion and maybe there's a red time because there's a feeling that it might not get extended for a second. But like I said, guys, when it comes to political stuff here with DT, Mr. Master Manipulator, Maestro, bringing people along. So we just got to know the game that we're playing. That's what it comes down to. So the political setups do not fall victim to the ways that he tries to manipulate people. Fall victim to that. So that's pretty much it for tonight's live, man. If you guys are having a great time, shout out to all my members that's here that showed up and showed out. This is our second class of today. So we're right here expecting more. I know it's 10 p.m. We got to make sure that we get our rest, proper rest. I poured into the people last week. We had some great workouts. I got a lot of footage that'll be coming, so I'll continue to share. But this is the way that you want to be tapped in with me. So the IG lives is cool and all. I still do them from time to time, but I like being able to share my screen and add a little bit of value here. So we're gonna grow this channel out. We're gonna take this from 1,000 to 100,000. Right, that's the goal. We're gonna take this to 1,000 to 100,000. So I've been on YouTube for a little bit of time, but I haven't really been mass producing content on YouTube like I should have been. So that's one of my things that I'm my own biggest critic. I be in my head a lot. There's things I got to get done. It's a ton of things that I'm pushing forward, and so it's about building a team as well too. So a lot of people that have been here, you guys know I've been operating this thing nonstop, continue to keep pushing. So make sure you're taking your vitamins, make sure you're drinking your water, make sure you're working out, taking care of your body, and make sure you are hitting that subscribe button and make sure that you share this thing with your friends, your family. So each live that I do will be saved as well. You also will see some videos that are done pre-recorded, right? That I'll do. So yeah, definitely make sure that you guys are sharing the content. Make sure you guys are following me on all these different platforms. And like I said, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the love. It's gonna be a little bit different this week. It's like, man, after last week, it's like, oh, we are, we are actually, you know, now not gonna be in person, right? We're not gonna be in person. All those, I'm definitely gonna miss the people. But starting the second week of July, we are going to have a live trading session in person. For those that are in Atlanta, if you're listening to this and you are in ATL, we're going to do a live trading session. We're going to try to run this thing every week, right? Every week doing a live trading session in person. And it's obviously going to start off small, but I'm gonna change the game with this. I want to be a game. I'm a game changer, right? When I step onto the court, that's my mentality is, hey, I'm gonna change the game. And so, what can we do different? How can we build this thing out more? Impact. Everyone put that one word in there. Impact. Impact. So I want everybody to drop that word in there. Impact. That's what we're focused on. So signing off here for tonight. Appreciate everybody's time. If you know you're not tapped into the community, but you need to be tapped in, make sure you are sending that DM. We're going to get you set up nice. And shout out to all the people that have already tapped in. Appreciate everybody who came out. Miss Vanessa Martinez, Damian Johnson, Miss Denise Gilmore, Paul Hawthorne, Miss Felicia Frazier. All right. So appreciate y'all. We'll sign off here for tonight. Everybody have a blessed one. Peace.